we're going to briefly go over the basic early literacy skills that are going to come up in your M-Class assessments. So there are 5. We have phonemic awareness, phonics, accurate and fluent reading of connected text, reading comprehension, and vocabulary and language skills. So these 5 have been very heavily researched. The 2000 report from the National Reading Panel is one great research base, and a 1998 publication from the National Research Council for Preventing Reading Difficulties in Young Children is another. And what they have found is that these 5 skills are really great predictive indicators of how well kids are going to do as readers in general throughout the rest of their schooling, but even how well they're going to do in school just in general. If you're a stronger reader, that's going to help you in all of your subject areas and content areas. So we're going to define each one very briefly, and then we'll come back and match each one back to its assessment you're going to do in M-Class. So if you're looking for this, it should be on page 3 of your handout. I believe it's titled Basic Early Literacy Skills and Dibble's Next Measures. So you might want to pull that out now. Okay, so let's talk about the first one, phonemic awareness. So phonemic awareness is really just the student's ability to hear and use sounds in spoken words. It's a much more narrower term than something we call phonological awareness, which is really just being able to identify and manipulate larger spoken words in our language. So phonemic awareness is all auditory. The kids can do all this with their eyes closed, and there is no print involved when you're teaching or assessing phonemic awareness skills. And finally, it's a foundation building block to teaching kids how sounds start to then have associated symbolic representation in print, which then moves us into phonics. So phonics is a really big umbrella term for a few different things. One is the alphabetic principle, which just says that sounds we hear have a symbolic representation. Also basic phonics skills, so kids knowing and using letter sounds like their consonant sounds, vowel sounds, being able to put those together to read basic VC or CVC words. And then more advanced level phonics. So now kids start to understand that sometimes when those letter sounds are put together, they might make a digraph or a blend or a vowel team. They start to learn about prefixes and suffixes and syllabication. And all of that then leads to kids then eventually developing more refined phonics skills. So now they can start to learn word attack skills and strategies so that they can approach different words with all of those phonics skills that they've learned. And they can use the morphology of the language, they can use the context to help them. And all of phonics requires print. You can't do any phonics unless you have print in front of kids. So they have to do this work with their eyes open. Moving into accurate and fluent reading of connected text. So this is where it starts to influence a student's ability to comprehend and interact with the text a little bit more. And when kids start to get into this layer, now they start to feel like a real true reader because they're actually starting to read a little bit more smoothly now. So their confidence really starts to grow. And that moves us into reading comprehension. So reading comprehension is our whole reason for reading. We read so that we can comprehend and make meaning from the text. And we don't want kids ever just recalling words or remotely just saying words from the page. They're not really reading if that's what they're doing. We really want them to be able to connect all of that together and figure out what is the author trying to communicate to me. These skills and strategies have to be explicitly taught. Kids generally don't just acquire these on their own. So again, reading comprehension is one of the most crucial for reading because if you don't have that, you're not really reading. And our last one is vocabulary and language skills. So vocabulary development is really just our process of making meaning from language that we hear or language that we read in print. And as we develop that and refine it, that really helps us in our communication, either through our listening, through our speaking, through our writing, and through our reading as well. So we're going to assess all 5 of these in M-Class, and in a few minutes, like I said, we'll come back and we're going to match each one of your M-Class assessments that you're going to do to each one of these skills.